Sagar Singh's question, but as soon as you see the question, you know it's a passage completion question. So obviously we'll have to choose out of A, B, C, D and E which option fits the last blank here. Okay. So for passage completion questions, couple of tips. I'm sure most of you already know this. We've looked at such question types earlier as well. So for question types like this, basically it's important to pay attention to the surrounding context, right? Previous sentence, following sentence, if the blank is in between or if the blank is the first topic sentence, right? So it is important for us to pay attention to surrounding context. But just for us to get an idea, if we want to save time, so we're only going to look at the preceding sentence, okay? So the preceding sentence starts saying, these countries also recognize that economic growth works best in a stable and market-oriented economic climate. So some of the clue words that you can quickly look at from the preceding sentence is, we're talking about stable and market-oriented economic climate, right? And we're talking about economic growth itself, that's the crux. If that being the case, let's look at A, B, C, D and E, okay? And let's go from there. I'm going to eliminate wrong answer options first, alright? So I'm going to go from the back. E. Protectionism in the form of tariffs, reasonable subsidies for domestic industries, laws against capital dumping, etc. should be in place to protect domestic industries from aggressive global players. So point E is very unrelated to the sentence that we have highlighted and the keywords that we have underlined, right? So sentence E addresses factors that should be put in place for protecting the domestic industries from aggressive players. I will quickly eliminate this. This is nowhere giving me or is nowhere in line with what should create a stable and market-oriented economic climate. So I'm going to eliminate E. Let's look at D. Therefore, in today's globalized world, it is crucial for governments of advanced nations to acknowledge the importance of migration of workers as it provides to their industries highly skilled workers from developing countries at relatively low wages. Okay. Now, D, what is D addressing? D says, it's talking about migration of workers, provides to the industries highly skilled workers from developing countries at relatively low wages. Again, it's not a very strong point, right? It's addressing more in terms of migration. Now, how is that going to help in economic growth, stable and market-oriented economic climate? In fact, D is, I would say it's contradicting, right? If you're saying it is crucial for governments of advanced nations to acknowledge the importance of migration of workers as it provides to their industries highly skilled workers from developing countries at relatively low ages, we can quickly relate it to H1B visa issue that's happening currently, right? Trump is doing exactly the opposite. Why? Because there's already instability in the American economy, US economy, right? So here D is completely contradicting what will create a stable and market-oriented economic climate, right? And it's not even related to the context here. I will eliminate D. Option C. IPR issue is a major concern of advanced countries because they invest huge money and time in innovating and developing new ideas and products. Now this C is talking about something negative that is happening, right? It's addressing an issue which is a concern. Now that is not what contributes or aids in supporting the preceding statement. I will eliminate C, right? Unrelated, it talks about some issue. B. Accordingly, developed countries strive hard to impart necessary skills, quality education and provide enabling environment to the people so that they can contribute in the greater cause of their nations. Now, B, right? B is very generic. Let's look at A and see whether it's going to be A or B. A says, consequently, they use monetary policy to keep inflation low and stable and to minimize the risk of exchange rate fluctuations while also encouraging domestic and international competition. Now, what we can quickly do is, see, this is one way of doing it, which is a longer way, right? I'm looking and eliminating all the wrong options. I'm trying to understand which sentence will support the preceding sentence. Another quick way to do this is, now this this tip that I'm going to share you will not work with all such questions, right? It will differ question to question. Some questions it will work, some questions you might have to go through eliminating wrong answer options first. So it might take some time, but the more you practice passage completion questions, a couple of things that you can quickly identify and see is repeat words in the phrases, right? Stable, that's another key word, right? Where do you have stable, in A or B? A, stable, right? They, who's the they referring to? These countries, right? So if I have to look at A or B, the most closest option that is giving me or supporting the preceding statement is A. Consequently, they, the countries, what will they do? Because they recognize that economic growth works best in such an environment, stable and market oriented economic climate, market oriented, which means they still want to harness or increase business, right, in the market. So how can that happen? If they minimize the risk of exchange rate fluctuations, and if they encourage domestic and international competition, that's going to help in creating positive market oriented economic climate, right? And if they keep inflation low and stable. So the closest option that will support the last or end this paragraph is A and not B, right? Even if you say, some people might lean towards B, saying, hey, that's also talking about, you know, bringing necessary quality education skills, enabling environment, but we are not, but we also need to pay attention to what is closest in line with the crux of the passage. And for us, it's the preceding context. Now, for this, that's why I said, I don't know if you've gone through all the passage completion questions that have been covered in the English section. Under comprehension, you have passage completion. Ideally, I would like you to go through all those videos because there are a lot of techniques that I've shared per question, right? Every question, techniques will differ. So some questions you can look at repeat words. Some questions you can use the elimination method. Some questions you'll have to understand if it's giving us a positive or negative meaning. Predominantly for passage completion questions, you're still applying strategies of jumble sentence because you're looking at logic, right? You're trying to see, hey, after this sentence, which sentence will come? Right, what do we do for jumble sentence? Same thing, right? We identify phrases, words, clue words, keywords that are repeated, right? So I would suggest, see, these sort of questions you should be prepared to answer because you might get it in your SBI PO mains. So last year, there were so many new question types, right? Word usage, odd one out, passage completion. So try, and all of this is available in our directory, which I'll show you, especially for the new guys who don't know where to go and look. I will show you, so you will go through all those videos and understand what are all the possible techniques that you can apply for question types like this. The answer for this question, I believe, has to be A.